Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I am HiFi-Dawson and this is the Fosi Audio S3 music streamer. It is Fosi Audio's first dedicated network music streaming device, and it combines several components into essentially one compact chassis: a network streamer, a DAC, and a digital preamplifier. It retails for about $259 and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the S3 in this video review. So let's get into it. Before getting into the review, full disclosure, Fosi Audio did provide the S3 to me for review, but as always, all thoughts and opinions are my own, and Fosi Audio had no say or input into the contents of this review. So I'm going to start off more talking about who this device is for and who it is not for before really getting into anything, just so you have an idea of if this is something you should be interested in or not. So who is the Fosi Audio S3 for? Well, it's for anyone trying to build an affordable and compact network streaming system. It's for anyone who was going to connect directly to like a powered amplifier for speakers or for headphones or anything like that. It's for anyone who wants network connectivity like AirPlay, Google Cast, connecting to music services like Spotify, Qobuz, Tidal. Anyone who uses Roon, because this is a Roon endpoint. Anyone who wants to add streaming via HDMI eARC, because this does have a HDMI eARC connection, so you can output it to, like, let's say if you have an older amplifier that has HDMI. So if you're building like a compact like 2.1 system, so 2 speakers, 1 subwoofer kind of thing, this is like a perfect device because of the small footprint. And it's also for anyone who likes to have sort of control via an app experience, because there is a companion app that goes along with this, which I'll be getting into. So essentially, if you are looking for a network streamer that outputs to various things, whether it's an amplifier for powering speakers or an amplifier for powering headphones, this is probably for you. Who this is not for is someone who wants parametric EQ and room correction, because unfortunately this does currently not have parametric EQ and it does not have a room correction feature. If you want like advanced like subwoofer management, like say output to multiple subs, that kind of thing, this only has the 1 sub output, so you're limited on that part. If you want to input via USB, this does not have a USB input. If you are someone who values high bitrate codecs for Bluetooth, this does not have support for that. So if you're expecting LDAC or aptX lossless or aptX adaptive, this will not be for you. If you only have headphones, there is no headphone output on this thing. So you will need a separate amp in order to use this. So if you do not have any of that extra equipment to output this to, and you're not willing to invest in it, this will not be for you. So with all that said, let's now get into the specifications. So there is quite a bit going on the screen right now for these specifications, but some of the highlights, first off, again, the MSRP for this is $260. This is essentially a network streamer slash DAC slash preamp. The chipset in here is the Amlogic A1133X, which is actually fairly powerful SoC for a device like this. And Fosi Audio has chosen to go with the AKM AK4493 SEQ DAC chip, which is a very respectable DAC chip. It also has its own output stage for the balanced XLR outputs, and it uses a separate path for the RCA outputs, so this kind of nice internal circuitry separation there. This does support Wi-Fi 6, so you do not necessarily need to have an Ethernet connection. It supports essentially the latest Wi-Fi connectivity, and since we're just talking about audio, Wi-Fi 6 is perfectly fine, and it's dual band as well. It also has a Ethernet connection that supports up to 100 megabits per second. Again, 100 megabits per second is perfectly fine for audio. You do not need gigabit Ethernet for that. It has Bluetooth 5.3 and only supports SBC and AAC. And it uses the Bluetooth Low Energy for the remote control and for the app support. So there is no advanced Bluetooth connectivity on this device. Those are all the inputs and outputs, as you can see on the screen. I'm going to go into those in more detail when I look at the device itself, but you can see the inputs, outputs, as well as the sampling rates supported for each connectivity option. And what's really cool is this supports AirPlay 1 and AirPlay 2, which I do appreciate because the AirPlay 1 and AirPlay 2 both have different sampling rate supports. And this is, as of this video, this device is now Roon certified. So you can use this as a dedicated Roon endpoint in Roon. Previously, it was not certified and you could only use it with Roon via Google Cast or AirPlay, if you were doing it from a Mac. And overall, this is a fairly hefty device at 870 grams, but again, we will get into that very shortly here about why that is. So getting into what is in the box, well, this is the box. You get the streamer, of course, the S3 streamer. You get a fairly decent quick start guide. You get the power cable, and it just uses the barrel plug to end it here. You get a optical Toslink cable, and of course you get the Bluetooth remote. It does not come with batteries. You will need two AAAs. Sorry, AAAs, two AAAs for this to work, but remember, it does not come with the batteries. So I'm going to clear some of this away, and we're going to take a closer look at the S3 itself. All right, this is the Fosi Audio S3 network streamer. So it is plastic on the outside, but it very convincingly looks metallic, like it's aluminum or metal or something. And it almost feels like that too, and I think it's just the color, the sheen of it that gives that illusion. But it is plastic, but it is, again, it's very like solid and well built and very convincingly metal. It's pretty small, as you can see, compared to the remote. It's actually quite small. It's not too thick either. Even though it's almost a kilogram at 870 grams, it does not feel like that heavy, but it does feel dense in the sense that it feels like, well, this is a pretty solid product kind of thing. Yeah, I really do like how this feels, and I think as far as like how premium it looks, you know, I think they did a good job, and it's very understated. You know, this is not going to be a flashy setup kind of thing. I do, of course, appreciate they kept the orange for their volume wheel, which is a distinct Fosi Audio color, the orange volume knob. Everyone knows Fosi Audio orange. If you don't know, that is kind of their thing they do like to do. And I like this Fosi Audio engraved part on the top too, which I think is a pretty cool little aesthetic here. All right, we're gonna just zoom it in here so we can take a closer look. So on the front here, what do we have on the front? So we have that volume knob. Of course, it is just a knob. There's no push button on it, just a nice knob with, when you turn it, there are slight notches to it. It feels very nice to use. I like this volume knob. We also have some light indicators here, these LED indicators to indicate which type of input it is. And we have two buttons here. So the left button here is for power. It has a slight indentation there. It is also for changing the input. The other button here is for pairing Bluetooth devices as well as changing the output. So overall, pretty straightforward and simple, but still understandable. The bottom is, well, just here, these holes are here just for heat dissipation. This does not get that hot. And then we of course have these rubber stands, which say Fosi Audio, designed by Fosi Audio on them, which I think is a nice touch. But again, like it's plastic. Actually, I think this part might be metal. If not, man, it's so convincingly metal. It's pretty insane. But anyways, obviously on the sides, there's nothing. And then of course on the back here, this is the most important part. This is where the majority of the connectivity is. And of course we have the two, as far as outputs go, we have the two balanced XLR outputs. And we have the RCA outputs. We also have our sub out and our optical out. So that's all. Oh, and of course we have a 12-volt trigger out in case you want to connect it to some sort of device to, you know, get that signal. So nice that they include that option. On the far right is the power input. We have the HDMI ARC input here, an optical input, the LAN connection here, and an RCA in. Overall, very decent connectivity for a $260 network streaming device. I do appreciate the level of connectivity because I feel like they just gave us like just enough options without feeling like, man, I wish I had like one more input or one more output kind of thing. So if you need something more comprehensive, you probably want to look at a different type of product. There are more expensive products out there that will give you more connectivity options, but for this price range, I think the S3 does actually an excellent job and covers the most, most scenarios, I think, for most people. I'm just going to quickly show you the remote here too. So this is the Bluetooth remote, and it just has all the basic options on here. It is a plastic remote, and these are rubber buttons, and everything is, it's nice. It's pretty straightforward and simple. Again, nothing is getting overcomplicated here. Fosi Audio has, I think, concentrated more on just ease of use and simplification without leaving out too many, features or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this guy in so we can really get into things here, and we can check out the app and see what this is all about. So be right back. All right, I just plugged this in. We just need to hit this button, turn it on. It a little bit blinks here while it's powering up. Usually takes about 20 to 30 seconds to really turn on here. And Fosi Audio built sort of a custom Linux-based operating system for this thing, and it's controlled by their Fosi Audio app. When this originally launched, the app was very different, very limited. It looked pretty archaic, I will be honest with you. It was not that great. It was usable, but it was functionally just not that attractive. Thankfully, they very recently just released an update for it, and I'm actually just going to go through it here. So we're going to launch this guy. This should already be on. Yes, it is, as we can see. It detects the IP address. What's really nice is after about 5 or 10 minutes, I think 10 minutes of no activity, this will go into a hibernation state, not turned off, but just hibernation. And then from the app, you can actually wake it up. It has a wake up button. I think it's pretty cool. I do like that. So we can even like put it sleeping now. See, that's what it does. And if we just power back up, we can wake it up again. I do like that. This is detected very quickly once it's powered up and once you open up the app. So I do appreciate that. And you can see, of course, the current volume level. So we're just going to start with the home page here. And the home page has all of your input information or options, has all the available music services, and then, of course, the very bottom is the playback control. So first, we're going to talk about the source inputs. So Google Cast, of course, it is enabled. It works very well. I have used it. I do like it. It is not my preferred way to use this device because I don't need to use it that way, but from when I did in my testing, it works very well. AirPlay, again, it works. I was using it for a while this was not Roon certified. So I was using it from Roon, which is hosted on my Mac Mini, which has a music collection, and it worked just fine. Also, the Google Cast from the Roon from my Mac Mini worked just fine too. There is Bluetooth, of course. I switched to Bluetooth now, and it is turned on, and now any device can go and find it. And there's also a line in, HDMI in, and optical in. And then, of course, as we see, we have the music service options here. So if you want to connect to it, you just go into it and it'll take you through the steps to connect your various music services. What is nice is these are the actual Connect versions of this. So Spotify Connect, the Tidal Connect, and Qobuz Connect, which basically means you can open up the app on anything here. So let's open up Qobuz just to show you, and I can actually select the Fosi S3 using Qobuz Connect. That is pretty cool, I think. It works very well. I've tried it for Qobuz, I've tried it for Spotify. I don't have a Tidal subscription, so I didn't try it with Tidal. But I am going to give the benefit of the doubt that it does work very well here. Roon Ready, of course, this will just open up Roon. So I guess we'll just open up Roon, select an audio zone. There it is, Fosi Audio S3, and it is now Roon certified. So I do really appreciate that. Of course, you can also play from UPnP sources, universal plug and play. So example, Plex, I have a Plex server. I can go in here and find my music that I have, and I can play, you know, anything in here if I want to. So that is pretty cool. I do like that as well. It would be nice if they had their own sort of built-in file browser option for that, but here you can also do the output select, and you only have obviously the two options. You have the RCA/XLR, and you'll have the fiber optic. Volume settings, well, I do appreciate the volume options they give you here, so you can keep the previously used volume, you can do a fixed volume, or you can limit it to a min-max, whatever you want. Then there's also this EQ adjustment. Like I mentioned before, there is no parametric EQ. As I understand it, they are working on implementing it, but I do not know if it will be for sure implemented. But right now what we get is a basic 10-band graphic equalizer. It works as well as a graphic 10-band equalizer works. I don't have any issues with it. I typically do not need to use an EQ for when I'm outputting the speakers and stuff. So that's just my own preferred, you know, way. You get a lot of built-in options, and I do wish maybe there was a preamp for it, but I guess maybe it doesn't really matter because you can already control the volume on here. Well, you can even mute doing that, and then of course power is off. If we go into the settings here, so we have all of the various settings, so it tells you, well, what the device is, your language, time zone, what network it's connected to, basically all that stuff. So you can, well, now see my Wi-Fi network. Anyways, you can, you know, modify various power management options. So this is the auto standby I was referring to earlier, where you can set it to, like, you know, 5, 10, 20 minutes for standby. I like 10 minutes. Just seems to be what I like. And you can also do like stop at a fixed stop playing at a fixed time. Nice options to have, I guess. In the service settings, of course, this is where you go in and change various options in here too. Very interesting, I think. AirPlay passwords, which is good. So it is very well thought out in how they've implemented all of the connectivity options and the settings that they've put in here for it. My current firmware version is this. I have had one firmware update since I got this, and I've had this for maybe 2.5 months now. Maybe almost 3 months. Yes, it has taken me almost 3 months to do this review, but it was really because I was waiting for this new app to come out, and as well as for Roon certification. We can even check for updates right now. There shouldn't be a firmware update already on the latest version. Let's pop into the system version here so you can see what I'm currently running. When I did the one firmware update that came out, it did take a very long time. I don't know if it was just a one-off thing, but that was a little bit annoying. Bluetooth, you can start scanning for Bluetooth to pair the remote. And if we go down here, well, there's the EQ adjustment options again, volume settings again, audio input again, and audio output. So multiple ways to select different things. But in my opinion, it's still all very logically laid out. Just that main homepage had the quick options for it. This is more when you're going into like the actual settings of stuff. And then there's this my thing here where you can just control the, light mode, dark mode. Thank God they have dark mode. That kind of thing. You can see the user manual, which I do like when they do that. Yes, they just came out with the S3 Lite, which is essentially just a more affordable, lighter version of this. So pretty cool that you can do the manual and stuff here. And of course brings you to the community forum, which is actually pretty active. So, and the current app version that I am running is 1.3.9 here on Android. iOS also now has this app. I've used it on my iPhone 16, which I'm using to film this video right now, so I can't just show you that, but it works really good. I also have it installed on my MacBook Pro, because it's an Apple Silicon MacBook Pro, and it works very well from my MacBook, so it's kind of cool that I have various ways to control this device. So overall, I think, this is a very well implemented app. It looks really good. This is if you have multiple network streamers from Fosi. As you can see, this is what I was playing from Plex there. But I like that it tells you the information being played, the song name, everything like that. And actually, if we do into Qobuz and play, it should show. Yes, it might not actually show on here because it's just using the Qobuz Connect, that's right. But if I'm using Roon, it should. So actually, you know what? Let's do that. Let's go into Roon. Let's play something from Roon here. We could do some Stone Sour, maybe. Making sure we're doing the Fosi Audio S3. Absolutely, perfect. There we go. Yep, that's why. So that's kind of cool. I like that. Tells you where it's being played from, Roon. Yeah, I think that's a very well thought out app, and it's just nice in a way you don't need to go into the app to be able to do, play music or anything like that. It's more just to change certain settings kind of thing. So I think they did a really good job actually, especially with this redesigned app. Very, very happy with it. So just to give you another look again, what it looks like. I have it set to 84 for the volume. I'll tell you why in just a second here. We're just going to stop this and I'm going to do that. And before I talk about the sound quality, I'm going to bring up this picture here. So this is my setup on this desk that I'm filming at right now. So literally what you cannot see is that rack of stuff. So on the right side, you can see that's where I have the S3 on the bottom. Above that is the Fosi Audio ZA3. That I bought myself. That was not provided by Fosi Audio. That is what I output to those two DALI Cupid speakers. They're just, pretty nice bookshelf speakers that I really, really like. And that Fosi Audio ZA3 is so powerful that I have to turn the volume down really low. And because it's an analog volume control, at very, very low volumes, it has channel imbalance. And if you've used analog volume control before, you might know that that is a thing. So what I do is I turn the volume down a bit on the Fosi Audio S3. I'm able to turn it up a bit more on the ZA3 to get past that channel imbalance. And then I get nice, good audio from those DALI Cupid speakers. I also have a Shanling EC0T CD player on the top left there. That is using a 3.5mm to optical connection, and I have it connected via optical to the S3 streamer here. And then I have the, the FIO K13 R2R connected via RCA, because I have either one of my laptops plugged into USB to the K13, and I want to, basically use that as a source, just my laptop if I'm doing stuff on there. Wouldn't necessarily do it that way, in reality. I'm just doing it because, for testing to make sure it works. Usually I would probably just plug the K13 R2R into the ZA3 to output, but anyways, all those output options, they work. The connections are solid. I didn't have any issues with having to change the input connections. All this setup, here worked very well. So I just wanted to give you an idea of what I was using and how I will be framing my sound quality impressions, basically. So as I mentioned before, this uses an AK DAC. This has the AK4493 SEQ. It is a very capable modern DAC chip. And Fosi uses separate analog and digital, power or circuitry paths in this device to separate the XLR and the RCA outputs. So I do appreciate that. So for the balanced stage, they use the OPA 1612 op amps. So they really put a lot of thought into how they wanted the sound to actually be output out of this thing. The RC outputs, they use a separate like buffer. I think it's using the NE5532 or something based on that. If that means something to you, then you know what I'm talking about. If it doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry about it. It just, what it means is they have just separate audio circuitry paths within this device to separate any noise or interference, and that is a good thing. The volume on here is adjusted digitally using this knob here. And as I said before, I like this knob a lot. It has a nice little bit of feedback to it when you're doing it. As far as the overall like sound presentation goes, this might actually be a short section because I don't even think there's that much to talk about here, because I think like just the overall sound of this device is very good. It has a very clean and neutral, maybe even natural presentation. It has a very quiet background. I didn't hear any coloration. The reason I was using the Dali Qubit speakers is because I've been using them for a long while now. I know what they sound like with various different pieces of audio gear, and I didn't hear this making any difference on them, which is a good thing. Because I want to hear how they sound. I don't want this to influence how my speakers are going to sound unless I'm using EQ. And I did use EQ just to test that the EQ works, and the EQ, it does work, but it's just a graphic EQ, not a parametric EQ, so keep that in mind. The sound, I guess, generally, it's just pretty transparent, and it's overall very composed. It's not bright or analytical. I think the S3 just largely stays out of the way and just allows the amplifier and the speakers to determine, the overall character of your audio quality. And that's exactly what I want in a network streamer. I don't want this influencing anything. This job is just to get the audio from whatever connection I'm sending to it and to just give it to the amplifier without really influencing it in any way. And I think with the the very dependable AK DAC in here, AKM DAC, it does a really, really good job, and I'm very happy with the performance of this. So obviously the only analog outputs on this thing are the RCA and the XLR. The XLR has greater output voltage, and it's also better resistant to external noise. I did find I liked the XLR outputs more just because it seemed to give me just a little bit better dynamic range. Maybe it was just because it's more resistant to any type of electrical interference, but it did sound just a little bit fuller. It was almost a little bit more impactful. The bass was maybe a little bit more controlled, and the soundstage was a little bit more stable. It didn't seem wobbly or anything like that. And I think if you have very sort of sensitive speakers you're using with this, or sensitive equipment, you'll want to use the balance because I think it's a bit quieter. Quieter background. Yeah, I think that's the sound quality. There's really not much to say about it. It's a good device, good sound quality. There's nothing unexpected happening here. Just to talk about the overall sort of daily use experience, is very good because, well, as you saw, there is a standby option, so I just have it set up. I'll bring that picture up again. Basically, how am I using this thing? Well, it sits there. I want to hear some music from the speakers. I literally just open up Roon on my phone, and I was using Google Cast before for it, but now I can use Roon proper endpoint. So I open up Roon on my phone. I select a song I want to play or an album I want to play. I play it. It plays after a second of waking up the device. Great. That's exactly how you want it to be. I think it's a very easy experience. It's a very straightforward experience. It's very uncomplicated. I think that is probably the biggest takeaway from using the Fosi Audio S3. Simple, uncomplicated experience of just playing music to whatever you have it connected to. So I really do like that. This thing is going to be a mainstay in my setup here, so I do not anticipate moving it out because I do actually like using it that much. I guess that comes now into just sort of wrapping things up here. Again, I won't really show you how there's really nothing to show about the remote. It just works. You hit the buttons, they work. You get a light on there that's saying it did a thing. You do have to pair it out of the box. As I showed you in the app, there was that option for scanning and pairing, which is, again, very easy to do. You can use the remote to change the inputs, the outputs, the volume, play, pause, next track, previous track, muting, pairing, you know, other Bluetooth device. You know, it does everything for you. I really like that. Again, Fosi Audio seemed to have thought through everything here, I think. So getting now into my final thoughts. The S3 has a very, just to recap the sound quality, it has a briefly, it has a very clean, you know, neutral, and I would say even natural presentation to it. It doesn't, you know, influence the sound in any way, and that's exactly what I want. Again, I do prefer the balanced XLR output just because I think it does a slightly better job for the speakers that I have, but typically speaking, I don't think it's going to be a huge influence for most people about what they're using. This seemed to me like a particularly ambitious thing for Fosi Audio to do just because of the price point of $260. I think, it's going to unplug this here. I think to keep the cost at that and still have really good connectivity and good audio quality and a good app, I think they really nailed this, you know. So I think that $260 is a very fair price to pay for something like this. If your intended use is going to be, you know, using it as that network streamer of, you know, either one of those music streaming services I showed, or through Roon, or just through a UPnP service. Even I think like you can even use like Bubble UPnP, or you can even use you know, Music B. If you're on Windows, you can have that set to be a UPnP endpoint kind of thing, and you can like play to the S3 that way. So it's very capable in this way. So my personal recommendation is, if you want an affordable streamer with these types of connectivity options, and $260 is a doable amount of money for you, I think this is a great product for that. It's definitely on the cheaper side compared to some of the, you know, competitors from like Weem and Blue Sound, especially Blue Sound. I really didn't have any like critical concerns about the S3. I think it does a lot of things really well, especially since now it's Roon certified and the app has been modernized with their new app. The app was really going to be my only main, you know, concern or issue that I had with this thing, but otherwise, like, I actually don't really have any other critical issues with this thing, which is very surprising. Usually I find something. Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit shocked that I don't have anything like that, any issues with it. So it's not a perfect device. I won't say it's perfect, but it's damn near close. And I think Fosi Audio deserves the credit where, you know, credit is due here. So this is my video review of the Fosi Audio S3, Fosi's first network streamer, and they now have a second one being the Fosi S3 Lite. I don't know too much about that. Actually, I haven't had time to keep up exactly what's changed on it, so I won't comment on that, but the regular S3 here does a very good job, and I actually really do like it. So that is my review. Thank you for watching for this review, and I hope if you were trying to get some information out of it about the S3, I hope you got it. If not, let me know in the comments below if there's anything I left out, if there's any other pieces of information you need to know about how it works or what it does or anything like that. I'll have links in the description below to the product page for the S3 as well as where to buy it. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.